Welcome to Cliff Notes, the podcast where business meets inspiration and strategy meets balance. I'm Brandon Clifford, CEO of Business Alliance Inc., entrepreneur, investor, and your guide through the world of business, franchising, and leadership. Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur, an inspiring franchisee, or just someone looking for actionable advice to take your career to the next level, Cliff Notes is here for you. Join me as we break down the complexities of business and life into bite-sized, actionable insights. This is Cliff Notes, your shortcut to success. Welcome back to Cliff Notes, the podcast where we give you short, actionable insights to help you improve in business, leadership, and in life. I'm your host, Brandon Clifford, and today we're going to start with a quote from the author, Mark Twain. He says, "Continuous improvement is better than delayed perfection." It sounds simple, but if you let it sink in, it can change how you approach your business, your relationships, and even your spiritual life, right? So how many of us have said, I'm going to get started when I have a little bit more time, or I'll launch this app or this product or whatever it might be, this business, when everything's perfect. I'm going to act when this or that happens. Just got to make a few more tweaks and then we'll be good to go. But the truth is, perfection never really arrives. And perfectionism, it's really just fear, right? Perfection, it's an illusion. Improvement, however, that's available right now. So if instead of waiting for the perfect time to act, you can shift your focus to just continually making the next best step, you'll see much greater progress in an even shorter period of time. That's what we're going to talk about today. Let's dive right in and take a look at some real world examples. First is LinkedIn. All right, so take LinkedIn, for example. When Reid Hoffman launched LinkedIn back in 2003, it was clunky. It was a mess, right? It didn't have all the features we now take for granted, things like groups, news feeds, job postings, right? But Hoffman, he famously said, quote, "If you are not embarrassed by the first version of your product, you've launched too late." That early, imperfect product allowed them to gather feedback, build momentum, and create what is now the world's largest professional networking site. If they had waited for perfection, someone else definitely would have beat them to it. Or maybe, who knows, maybe they'd still be waiting and we wouldn't have LinkedIn. The next example is going to be Toyota. Toyota has this philosophy. It's called Kaizen. Kaizen, it means continuous improvement. So instead of expecting flawless systems, Toyota empowers their employees at every single level to just suggest small little improvements. So even someone working in the factory, if they notice that a tool is just slightly out of reach, and by putting it 6 inches closer to them, it's going to save them seconds. They'll bring that to leadership. And leadership will say, yes, do that, because you multiply those seconds by thousands of employees, or just that ideal by thousands of employees who are making small changes every single day. Toyota has become one of the most efficient and respected automakers in history. It's just a great example of how small improvements made consistently will beat this fantasy of perfection every single time. Next example is going to be Apple, right? Apple, people think of Apple as like it's a perfect product, quote unquote, but really it's not. All they really do is iterate relentlessly. How often does your iPhone have an update? The first iPhone back in 2007, it didn't have a copy and paste functionality. There was no third-party apps on the iPhone. Today, that sounds ridiculous. My phone is full of apps. But Steve Jobs and his team knew the goal was to launch, improve, and then launch again. They consistently relaunch monthly, quarterly. Each version of the iPhone has a goal to simply improve a little bit. And Apple lets the process of continuous improvement fuel their innovation. They don't just wait until they have this flawless product to bring it to market. They want to get it out there so then they can give their audience, their customers, what they want, not just what they think they want. And that's why they're able to beat their competition. So let's take a step back and look at this principle in a biblical sense, right? In the book of Proverbs, we read Proverbs 4:18. It says, "But the path of the just as a shining light goeth forward, and increaseth even to perfect day." So it doesn't say that the path of the just is instantly perfect. It says it shines brighter and brighter, step by step, until it reaches fullness. So that's what continuous improvement looks like. We may not be perfect today. We may not reach perfection today, this very day, but we can walk in the light that God has given us. Just always looking for that next best step and trusting that He will increase our perfection as we go forward. In the world of business, especially in franchising, the industry that I'm in, I see this perfectionism play out constantly. And I see new brokers in the BAI network. They sometimes hesitate to pick up the phone until they have a perfect script, a perfect first call, second call script, whatever it might be. Or they say they're still doing brand research. They want to know all their brands inside and out before they pick up the phone. I see franchisors who hesitate to launch a campaign or do outreach to brokers until all their branding and their one pagers are flawless. I see suppliers wait until they have the perfect product, it's polished to shine before they test it with any of their franchise or brokers. And I see franchisees, potential entrepreneurs, wait to sign their franchise agreement until they go and scout out and find the perfect location or some other fictitious detail that really should never happen until after they become a franchisee. What does this all boil down to? It's actually fear. This idea of perfectionism, it's actually fear manifesting, right? The individuals who succeed in business, the ones who really thrive, who make it happen, they act. They test, they improve. They're not reckless, just going out there and doing whatever, but they're also not afraid to make a decision and act upon it. The perfect script is not what wins. The willingness to engage, to learn, to adapt, that's what creates growth. All right, so what does this mean for you as a leader, as a business owner, or even just in your personal life? First of all, launch early and refine later. Don't wait for perfect conditions. Just start now. Number 2, look for small wins. Improvement doesn't have to be dramatic. Sometimes it's the 1% tweaks that make all the difference. And lastly, the third one, just commit to growth, not perfection today. Growth compounds. Perfectionism paralyzes. So to wrap things up, Mark Twain, he was completely right. Continuous improvement is way better than delayed perfection. And then scripture backs it up. The path of the just goeth forward and increaseth even to perfect day. So my challenge to you this week, what's one area, just pick one area where you've been waiting for perfection? And then what's one small step? So I identify that area. And then just what's one small step that you can take today towards improvement? Take that step, launch that product, make the call, sign the agreement. Don't delay perfection. Grow through progress. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Cliff Notes. If you feel like this benefited you in any way, please like it, share it, send it to someone who you think needs to hear this message. And until next time, keep moving forward one step, one improvement at a time. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Business Alliance Insights. I hope you're walking away with some valuable insights to help grow and strengthen your business. If you're looking to connect with other business leaders, franchisors, franchisees, brokers, or even just looking to explore more tools to scale your business, be sure to get connected to our BAI network and check out FranLink, our exclusive social media platform built solely for our members. You can learn more about it and everything Business Alliance Inc. has to offer by visiting businessallianceinc.com. Again, that's businessallianceinc.com. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast with other business leaders who are ready to take their businesses, their brands to the next level.